Well, actually, I think strong leadership and innovation has been key to the success that we've had in the last few years. We've been through a very difficult period. In the UK, from recession to growth, we've been through and lost an airport the size of Gatwick. 35 million people didn't fly through UK airports, the depths of the recession. They've now come back. But as we've all come back, we've had to innovate, we've had to come up with new ideas. Our customers, which are the airlines, are expecting us to do more for less, so they don't want to pay as much, but they expect higher standards, and therefore you have to innovate, and you have to show a strong leadership by saying, this is the way we're going to do it, this is what we need to do to deliver this particular outcome. And an industry that's very conservative, that is quite rightly safety focused and security focused, that can be quite challenging, especially with regulations, but nevertheless, there's an exponential rise of customer service from airlines and from the consumer, the passenger, who are expecting more for less and better every day. I guess my MBA has helped me change the way I look at a business. Before, I thought I was a good operator, and I was, because I was a military air traffic controller. However, I did 2 years in human resource management and recruitment, which I didn't enjoy when I left the Air Force, and thought, I'm not getting to the meat of the substance. I'm not getting the answers I want. I'm not getting the career path that I want. I need to do something different. I lack some tools in my armory to achieve that. Marketing, finance, strategic management. And I was able to go and do the Warwick MBA, which said a year to change your life, and it did. And I took those tools that I learned, added them to my leadership skills that I had been given by the military, and my salesmanship skills that I'd learned in recruitment and human resource development. And effectively, I thought at that time I was the all-round package. But actually, that was the starting point. And it's applying those things that you've learned at business school in various different organizations and on different problems that actually teach you the salient points of what the MBA was trying to teach you, because you're on a very steep learning curve there, but actually it's the practical applications of that MBA that actually make the difference. In my industry, in the aviation industry, there are a number of MBAs, more so now than there were when I first came into it 20 odd years ago in airport management. And the thing for me is seeing the MBA, those three little letters are quite important, because they show that that individual's been through some form of rigor, some form of analysis, and hopefully something where the MBA actually says, I will question what is in front of me, I won't take it at face value, I will be devil's advocate, and I can actually come up with a different solution to the problem that I'm facing. If you've grown up just being faced with those problems, you tend to be sort of shoehorned and railroaded in a particular direction. What I have found about a lot of MBAs that I've met is that they're prepared to actually look over the problem and say, what's the other side? What's the outcome we're trying to get to? And if we just take that away, we get a different solution, and sometimes more cost effectively. And MBAs are analytical, they're rigorous, they will black hat things, they'll look at the risk management side of things, and it shows that they're usually pretty hard working as well, because most of the MBAs in the UK and the graduates I've seen have gone through quite a rigorous year, or 18 months or 22 months, wherever it is these days, and have done quite well from that process because of the way they have been taught, given that it is a taught MBA. I think the thing that you take from your MBA and the thing that you go through the rest of your life is that you're always learning. You can teach a dog new tricks. The old dog can learn, and I'm still learning. And that's what the MBA gave me, a thirst for knowledge. And being part of organisations like AMBA when I first joined it, and now the Warwick Business School Strategy Board, you are on that journey, and you're taking things from the interaction that you have with academics and finding solutions to apply them to, or problems to apply them to, I should say, finding those problems in a real environment, and so taking the academic stuff, seeing it in the real space, and saying, yeah, this works, this makes a difference, and that's what we're paid to do. I think the UK, if you look at the economy of the UK, up to about the 1950s, the UK regions weren't doing too badly. World War II gave us a bit of a hard time. The first city to recover effectively and become a dominant world city is London. And we've seen that shift towards London, all things being London. And I think if you look outside of London, there are 40 million people in the rest of the UK. That greater London of 20 odd million people. And we do need to make sure that we don't forget them, despite the phenomenal success that London's had. And I think rebalancing the economy is important, because we then don't get more people being dragged into London. We can create pockets of opportunity in Birmingham, in Manchester, in Edinburgh, in Glasgow. And of course, to do that, the consumers there need connectivity. And that connectivity has to be through air links and rail links. And if you think about it, were largely operating off the railway network that was designed by the Victorians. The train I came down onto the presentation that I did in London today was designed by Robert and George Stephenson for 12 and 13 mile an hour trains, and I've just done 125 miles an hour on it, and it's showing wear and tear. So we need to invest in new technology, new connections, because new connections, and the case of HS2, connected to airports like my own at Birmingham, can change the geography, the economic geography of the UK. And if there are connections there, people will make business links because of them to the benefit of those communities. Well, I think in the history that we've had, up to about the mid-1980s, 1986, it was seen as a public service and it was government controlled. Why is government running airports? Airports, airlines are private sector organisations, so shouldn't airports be the same? In some parts of the world, airports are still public sector organisations and airlines pay the full whack to those government organisations and you get glass palaces. We are more financially astute, financially aware, financially disciplined. We still play our safety card and our security card because without that we've got nothing. But nevertheless, we recognise that the efficiencies that we brought and give our airlines opportunity to bring more services in, and more services that come in, connect our communities, and connecting our communities actually generates economic wealth for those communities, and you create a virtual spiral of success. And so the airport linked back to its community, but privately run, I think is an excellent model and a great way forward for the industry. Well, I think there's two big challenges. One is government, and the second is climate, and the two are linked. So we do have to address the climate change issue and the climate change agenda. My first degree was a degree in geography and meteorology, so I know that climate does change. Aviation has an impact on that, and whether we think it's small, other people might think it's large. Therefore, we need to make sure that we do the right thing so that the connections that we're building today for our consumers, we can continue to do so, recognizing that we need to minimize the environmental impact that aviation creates. We're doing that through sustainable aviation, a variety of mechanisms brought in to stop the carbon emissions or reduce carbon emissions. We're not there with electric aviation from renewables. One day we might be, perhaps not in my lifetime, but certainly we're setting the stall out for that future in which carbon is managed and our impact on climate is reduced. The runway debate in the UK is, well, I think we started with the answer of Heathrow. We spent £20 million and we got the answer, which is Heathrow. There is no doubt expanding a Heathrow-type airport will bring significant economic benefit to the UK. However, we are talking about putting a quart into a pint pot, and I think we've reached the limits of that pint pot. The M25, the rail infrastructure, who will pay for it? Boris, of course, said, let's build a big airport in the Thames estuary. Fine, we haven't got £100 billion. It's also in the wrong place in terms of the rest of the population. We've still got to get through London. What we need is, I think, given where we are, is a distributive model, a network of competing airports, effectively what we've got today, and notwithstanding whether the debate is build it at Heathrow or build it elsewhere, wherever we're going to build it, we've got a 15-year wait before it's fully operational. What is business going to do tomorrow morning? And the thing what we're saying is a network of airports like Manchester, like Edinburgh, like Glasgow, like Birmingham, can all play a role in actually taking the pressure off the southeast, because many of the passengers going to the airports in the southeast come from our region. And therefore, if we can persuade the airlines to come in, change the behavioural economic of the passenger, we can actually do two things. We can ease the pressure on London, allowing it time to come up with the right answer, but also take the economic gain that comes from having those airlines in our regions and put it to good use.